Yeah, banks are, accelerating their timelines. I don't think all banks are doing this, but definitely some banks are. And generally speaking, the trend is towards, earlier rather than later. I think this is a challenge because many freshmen, they don't know what they want to do. But I think if you want to be prepared, start, trying to read up on the industry as soon as you possibly can. But I think what's going to be important moving forward is actually finding like quote unquote like informal internships. I think the fact that it's so early now is going to make it difficult for people to find formal internships to have on their resume. By formal internships, I mean like you you know apply on the career website or you apply on the company website or whatever. Those internship opportunities are pretty difficult to get like as a freshman or sophomore. So I think you have to be proactive in reaching out to like cold emailing like companies, cold emailing people using LinkedIn, etc., to find like informal opportunities where you can gain that work experience. I think this is going to help people stand out, especially when recruiting is so early. But it also provide people context on, is this something I enjoy? Is this what I want to do? So that's my first point of advice, finding like informal opportunities. The second point of advice would be to start reaching out to people earlier. At least, so I'm on the Harvard recruiting team for GS, and we're even like meeting like freshmen like preliminarily. So I think starting early and reaching out to banks and getting on the radar is super important, especially if like we're in an environment where like right now, for example, like in this coronavirus crisis, schools aren't coming on campus, so you have to like actually reach out to them. So I think those are probably two things I would say, like trying to get informal opportunities and just like getting in touch with the banks sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think the moderators can weigh in on this as well, but I think it gets kind of crazy recruiting people this early when you don't really know if they're actually going to be a super valuable candidate quite yet, especially freshman year when they've got like a semester of grades and kind of, as Paul said, informal internship and leadership activity on their resume. But I'd say, yeah, just like just start reaching out as much as possible, talk to everyone at different banks, start reaching out, spread a wide net to try to just network as much as possible, just like Paul was saying, and also just study up on those technicals, know your stuff earlier, sooner or rather than later, because you never know when that interview is going to come up. You never know when you're going to need to know those technicals, so make sure that you study up on those guides. Study up using Elevate, the investment banking modules, study up using just all the resources that are available to you so that you can really nail those interviews when they do come, and expect that those interviews are going to come sooner rather than later. And just, just be prepared from that technical mindset as well.
And also just one more point to add on that. I would say, just, actually before reaching out to like all the banks, probably try to reach out to, the people closer to your age bracket. So, people who are going into their junior internships, or people if you have a full-time offer, like reaching out to those people in your school first, and then, trying to get out your, those questions out so that you have more context when talking to people currently working at the companies you're recruiting for.
I think that's a really important point, is just to make sure that you've reached out to upperclassmen and use them as a resource as well, not just the people at the firms you're trying to work at, just because the upperclassmen you can have like a more open and honest dialogue with and ask like really any question you want. So I think that's a very productive conversation to have first, and then kind of starting to network amongst the firms.